The Memphis Grizzlies are once again showing why they are one of the most dangerous teams in the NBA. I felt like last year the Grizzlies were just a very young and gritty team that were trying to prove themselves, and I felt like despite them being a really good regular season team, they exceeded everyone's expectations last year. And well, now we're here and the Grizzlies are back and they have something to prove. I feel like this team is more matured compared to last season because Memphis is currently the first seed in the Western Conference. They're 9-1 their last 10 games and they're on a 7-game winning streak. Right now, it seems like they know what they need to do to win, and it's showing. The Grizzlies have been on my radar for a while, but I knew I had to make a video when they blew out the Milwaukee Bucks last night. And not like a 20-point blowout, no, they won by 40 and limited Giannis to 19 points. Ja had a triple-double and the whole team played well. I think this game just showed that the Grizzlies are on another level right now, and they're one of the top teams in the NBA, and they need to be talked about. From what I've been able to tell, I haven't seen many people putting the Grizzlies as one of the best teams in the Western Conference, despite them having one of the most complete starting lineups and having a killer at the forefront. Ja Morant this season is averaging about 28, 6, and 8 on pretty decent efficiency. Now, I'm not going to tell you that just because he's averaging like 27 points per game and the Grizzlies are the #1 team currently in the West right now, he should be in the MVP conversation. But if the Grizzlies start to go on a tear and we can clearly see that Ja Morant is one of the reasons why, I wouldn't be surprised if he's in that conversation. Regardless, it's another year of Ja Morant doing Ja Morant things, and I think he's actually improved. But I'd be lying if I said he was the only reason why the Grizzlies have been so well. I mentioned it earlier, but this team has one of the most complete starting lineups in the NBA. And one of those players in the lineup that I've been really enjoying watching lately is Jaren Jackson Jr. This is a player that I've always admired his defense and what he's been able to do on that end. I think the impact he's also able to bring to the Grizzlies should be noted because to start off the season, he was injured and the Grizzlies were a bottom 10 defense. They were 20th in the NBA when it came to defensive net rating. However, the Grizzlies are now the 3rd best team in the NBA when it comes to defensive net rating. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Jaren Jackson Jr. is because of it. It's only been 12 games since he's returned and you can see the switch that they've made on defense. Hell, I mentioned it earlier, but the fact that they were able to limit Giannis to 19 points, the player that is the best in the NBA, is very much impressive. Jaren Jackson also brings a lot of value when it comes to help side defense and just his blocking ability as a whole. This season, Jaren Jackson Jr. is averaging 3.3 blocks per game, which is actually a career high for him. And speaking of career highs, well, Jaren Jackson Jr. has been having a career year. He's averaging 17, 16, and 3, which is very impressive, especially for being injured for the first month of the season. I saw Alex Hoops explain this about Jaren Jackson Jr.'s defense, which I'll leave the link to that video in the description below. He can definitely explain it way better than I can, but essentially what Jaren Jackson Jr. is able to do is manipulate the offensive player into driving into him, but he can't draw contact because Jackson is falling back. And because of his 7'4" wingspan, he's able to get blocks a lot easier than most defenders. See, when most big men go up, or even if you're playing basketball in general, you typically try to go up with the defender and you try to block their shot. You don't really fall back. But if you're someone like Jackson Jr. that does have a pretty big wingspan and you're smart as a defensive player, you can do that. The only other player I know that does this technique is Draymond Green. Again, a very smart defensive player. Despite this man being Mr. Triple Single of the NBA and being kind of a joke to a lot of people, we have to admit Draymond is a very smart defensive player. And I think Jaren Jackson Jr. is picking up some of those traits. Now, hopefully he doesn't start having triple singles like Draymond does, but I definitely see some flashes of Draymond in Jaren, but even better potentially. I got a lot of shit last year for saying Jaren Jackson Jr. was improving as a 3-point shooter, but yet it seems like he's been able to develop as a shooter. So far, he has a 37% 3-point percentage, but I don't really care about. I care more about the volume. Because if I have like a 50 3-point percentage, but I've shot like 2 per game and I make 1, obviously that's not a good volume. But Jaren shoots about 8 threes per game and makes about 3, which I would say is a pretty good volume to percentage ratio. Is that a thing? Holy shit, this actually doesn't exist. Well, we have a new stat on the channel. It's called VTP, volume to percentage ratio. Well, on that note, today's video is sponsored. Today's video is brought to you by Epidemic Sound. Non-copyright music is one of the essentials to being a YouTuber, and it is very hard to find the right songs to use in your videos. However, Epidemic Sound is here to help you. With over 35,000 songs and 90,000 sound effects filtered by different moods and genres and tempos, Epidemic Sound is the perfect place to find music for your videos. I wouldn't be sponsoring something if I didn't actually stand by them, and I've been using Epidemic Sound for the longest time. Shout out to Catherine Manning. I actually found Epidemic Sound through her, and now I want to put put you guys on. If you guys use the link in the description below or in my pinned comment, you guys will get a free 30-day trial. I don't have too much left to say about Jaren Jackson Jr., but I just want to say that he's been very impressive this season. It's only been 12 games for him so far, but what he's brought on the offensive side and the defensive side I think is very impressive, and I think we're going to see a lot more this year. Now, next up, I want to talk about Desmond Bane. Now, unfortunately, this guy's injured, but I think he's definitely one of the reasons why the Grizzlies have been successful. Out of everyone I'm going to talk about in this video, Desmond Bane is by far my favorite player on the Grizzlies. The jump he made from his rookie year to his sophomore year and to now has been something that we need to talk about. In his rookie season, he was averaging 9 points per game. In his sophomore season, he doubled his scoring, and now he's averaging about 25 points per game. Unfortunately, this man is going to be out for at least 2 more weeks, so ideally around the start of 2023. Unfortunately, because he's injured, I can't really do a full segment like I did on Ja and Jaren Jackson, but I still want to point out some things, and for one, I want to talk about his 3-point shooting. This season, Desmond Bane is shooting 45% from 3, which is a career high for him, and he has about a 3.8 to 8 VTP ratio. Yes, we are actually using this in videos now. So far this season, the Memphis Grizzlies have the 8th best offensive rating in the NBA, but I think when Desmond Bane comes back, it's gonna go up to around the top 5. I know I brought up his shooting a lot, but Desmond Bane isn't just a catch and shoot 3-point guy. His driving ability to the rim, the way he's able to create his own shot, it's very skilled, and it just shows that Desmond Bane has a pretty deep bag. So the fact he's shooting 46% from 3 while having a high VTP and he's able to do other things on the offensive side. Also, let's not pretend like Desmond Bane isn't effective on the defensive side of the ball. I don't know if people would consider Desmond Bane a 3-and-D player, but I would say if he was, he'd be one of the best in the league. Because I've noticed with a lot of 3-and-D players in the NBA, they're mostly just high rotation players and they don't really do much. But Desmond Bane, if he is a 3-and-D guy, does way more than most would. Because trust me, when Morant has a bad game, Desmond Bane is going to be right there to pick up the scoring. Memphis has a good team. They have good players, but they're going to have to do a little bit more if they want to prove everyone that they're a good team. Okay, well, let me rephrase that. They're a good team, but I think this team is contenders. I see them going far in the playoffs. In fact, I could actually see them making the NBA Finals. I've reiterated this in every single video I've made about a team in the Western Conference, but the NBA is so open right now. I feel like usually it's the Eastern Conference that's wide open and the West is stacked, but it seems like it's kind of reversed right now. I think it's been kind of shifting towards the East for the past couple years. The competition over there is pretty stacked right now, so for the West, I don't know who's gonna win the West. It could be the Grizzlies, it could be the Pelicans, the Nuggets, maybe the Suns if they can pick up what the hell they're doing. Hell, even the Lakers. Nah, I'm just fucking playing. Y'all ain't winning shit this season. Regardless, this is the first time I think in a while that the Grizzlies could actually make the NBA Finals, and I wouldn't be surprised. Also, keep in mind, Desmond Bane is gonna be out for a while, and they're on a tear right now. If the Grizzlies somehow have their win streak when Desmond Bane comes back, it is over for the NBA.